Hello everyone, this is Leo here. I am sick today, but I thought I should go through this pretty interesting article I found by searching up how long till Kathleen Kennedy is replaced. Yeah, I also searched up how much is a smoke machine, because of that one scene in The Mandalorian. Well, no spoilers, spoiler alert, you should have seen it already though, you numbskullish fool. Where Luke appears. So, if you want a history on Kathleen Kennedy, go watch the Critical Drinkers video in the description. It does swear, however, it is a very good documentation. But I came across this really about the rumors that Jon Favreau will and should be replacing. Wait one sec. Will and should be replacing Kathleen Kennedy as president of Lucasfilm. Yes, this rumor has been around for some time. I was one of the people who believed it. All of my friends are quite excited for the fact, at least the ones who actually know who the hell this guy is. Most of my friends just like The Mandalorian, what can I say? But this time it's come from Comics Books News, and I'm going to be honest here. As a publication, they've always kind of had it out for Kathleen Kennedy. Okay, very, very good start. You're gonna soil the fellow, fellow publication. I don't know about them having it out for Kathleen Kennedy, but there you go. There are a lot of so-called Star Wars fans who don't really like Kennedy. I never knew who the hell Kennedy was. I'm gonna be honest. I did not know who the hell Kathleen Kennedy was until Star Wars. Based on that, Kathleen Kennedy should leave. She should so leave. The sequels were a dumpster fire. Yeah, sure, she greenlit stuff like The Mandalorian, but come on, that's what any. Can you just stop bugging me, please? Outbite data driver. I don't know what the hell that is. Excuse me, I'll have to blur that word or something. But that's really weird. I don't know why it keeps bringing Amber Heard in to this. I don't really trust this website at this point. But anyway, there are a lot of so-called Star Wars fans who don't really like Kathleen Kennedy. They tend to forget that Kathleen Kennedy has been responsible for some of the best performing Star Wars movies of all time. Star Wars The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and Rise of the Skywalker all performed pretty well at the box office. So money-wise, Kathleen Kennedy is good. Okay, I'm gonna say it once. Mark Hamill has already said it. Money is not an indication of quality. I will again link the description of him saying that. If you don't trust Mark Hamill to know about Star Wars, because this was just addressing Star Wars, I don't think he said it outright, but I know he meant it, because then he said he was going to get bashed for it afterwards, I'm pretty sure. No, not bashed. I can't remember the exact wording, but I will link it in the description. Okay. Also, it's a bit unfair to say, oh, they did better than other Star Wars movies, because okay, cool. The Force Awakens made the most money. However, that's a lot more people to sell tickets to, and also inflation. Remember that. Also, to say that Force Awakens is better than Empire Strikes Back, or my personal favorite, Return of the Jedi, is blasphemous. Just silly. So, money-wise, Kennedy's good. It's fine statement, but money is not an indication of quality. So why did people want Kathleen Kennedy to leave Lucasfilm? However, that's not all. She was also the person who greenlit Star Wars films such as Rogue One and Solo. This is true. This is all true. about Solo and Rogue One. However, she's not the one who made them. She simply allowed them to be made. Any sensible director would have probably allowed Rogue One to be made and Solo to be made. Solo isn't bad. I don't think Solo's bad. Solo's perfectly acceptable. I think in the video that I just made, I forgot about Solo. But that's just a sort of Solo thing, isn't it? Solo's not amazing and it's not horrible. It's just sort of a movie that exists. To the point where Schaefer has never made a video on Solo as a movie that exists because Solo existed so hard that he forgot it existed. Solo's fine. Side rant. Blah blah blah. You can read all this. I gave you so much time. Then there's the case of The Mandalorian. I've heard many fans clamor for Jon Favreau to be the new president of Lucasfilms because of this new Star Wars show. Yes. And no, it's not just that. They like to heap together all the creating for the show's success on Favreau, and yes, he deserves a lot of it. However, people tend to forget that Kennedy was the person who greenlit the series. Again. I'll bring this up for anyone who doesn't know. Give permission to go on ahead with a project. Yes, sure, she greenlit it. That doesn't mean she helped make it or anything. Greenlit isn't as much of a big thing as you think it is. I have the sense, if I was in charge of Star Wars, if a literal 5-year-old who just watched A New Hope was in charge of Star Wars, they go, yeah, Mandalorian, that sounds like a cool idea. Yeah, you could make that, please. Because why wouldn't they? It's probably going to make them money because of Boba Fett and Jango Fett. Also, Jango's cooler. But yeah, it's going to make them money, and it's Jon Favreau. Of course you're going to greenlight it. Think. She allowed Favreau and Dave Filoni to go ahead and make the series, which has since become somewhat of a phenomenon. I'm dumb. Yes, so what? She's no better than, like, she's probably a bit worse. Kevin Feige would probably do the same thing if we're talking about people who greenlit this sort of thing, except recently it feels like Kevin Feige has not been doing such a great job. But anyway, it's no big deal. Greenlighting something. She's good at sensing opportunity. I'll give her that. But it's no big deal that she bloody let people make The Mandalorian. Any sensible person would. Jon Favreau likes making movies too much. Yeah, there's an even bigger problem why Favreau won't want to become the next president of Lucasfilms. He just likes making movies and The Mandalorian too much. Should Favreau become the next president of Lucasfilm, then he wouldn't be able to do the things he enjoys doing. Directing films and also starring in them. Let us not forget that Favreau is an actor also. Kathleen Kennedy is also a legendary producer in Hollywood. She's arguably the most successful producer of all time. Her first gig as a film producer was on E.T. the Extraterrestrial, blah blah blah, all of her history. You realize you can be the head of Lucasfilm, the president of Lucasfilm, and make movies at the same time? Jon Favreau could. I'm going to be honest. Jon Favreau is really smart. He clearly knows what he's doing, and I do believe that he could make his own projects while also overseeing on other people's projects. Because what Kathleen Kennedy has apparently done for her career is just say, alright, you can make this movie and be Steven Spielberg's assistant, and just, she didn't do anything else really. She just said, alright, you go make this movie. With Rian Johnson, he made a horrible movie by any standards that doesn't understand Star Wars. Neither does Kathleen Kennedy. Clearly, I don't love the expanded universe. However, it's got so much work put into it, and I love it for that. And also there are some very cool things. But her decanonizing it isn't a great move, and I don't think she understands Star Wars if she lets people like J.J. Abrams, like, movies like The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens get passed. Yeah, it's just, yes, we want to get rid of her. She's clearly made horrible things. Lucasfilm needs Kathleen Kennedy. She doesn't need Lucasfilm. Okay. Sorry, my sister's watching TikTok. But anyway. Marvel Studios' Kevin Feige won't be replacing Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy. No crap. You do realize he has Marvel to deal with, especially with Marvel's current state. I'm not a Marvel hater. I love Marvel movies. Phase 4 has been a bit of a letdown so far, and there's only been like 3 movies that come to mind that I really loved, which were No Way Home, Shang-Chi was pretty good, and Ms. Marvel. Ms. Marvel was a series, but it was quite good. Few problems, few little silly things, but I can forgive it. Because the characters were great. But why is there this hatred of Kathleen Kennedy? There are a few reasons. People don't like the fact she hired and then fired a bunch of directors on the Star Wars films. She hired the likes of Colin Trevorrow, Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, and John Trank. I would argue that all those decisions were the right ones. But still, people get upset over those sort of things. Honestly, the John Trank Boba Fett movie would have been a train wreck, let's face it. I don't know who John Trank is. Maybe that's a fault on my half. But arguably, the Boba Fett series was also a bit of a train wreck. I don't hate it, but it was very much all over the place. I wish Boba Fett was an actual crime lord instead of just the nice old man who was the mayor of this town. Also, the biker gang people do not fit in Star Wars at all. And also, it turns into The Mandalorian, season 2.5. I don't care, because Mandalorian's more interesting than Boba Fett. They wrote themselves into a corner by having to make a 6-part series of a character that is kind of boring, and just was sort of made to sell action figures. But they could have done something cool with him, because I reckon Django's cool. But, I don't know. You can't really say, oh, the Boba Fett movie would have been a train wreck, and then the series and you're being opinionated by saying all those decisions were the right ones. So I'm going to be opinionated and saying probably would have been better about probably would have been better than the Boba Fett series, especially if Boba Fett's an actual crime lord. She also brought Tony Gilroy in to helm the reshoots on Rogue One after they saw Gareth Edwards' rough cut of the movie. The thing is, Kathleen's got years of experience producing movies and knows when things aren't going to plan. However, Star Wars fans always think that they know best. Well, what do you think? We're the people who grew up loving this series. Yeah, we were probably wrong about the prequels. Prequels, I never thought they were bad. Yeah, I'm not the person who jumps on the train and say, actually, prequels weren't that bad. But the sequels make them look beautiful in comparison. I always reckoned, but I still think this. The prequels are a worthy silver to the original's gold. I think the clunky dialogue was on purpose, and I might make a video explaining why it was actually kind of necessary and perfect. But yeah, we think that we're best, and George thinks that we know best. And what's George Lucas's wife? Robot Head spoke about this. Martha Lucas doesn't like the sequel trilogy and doesn't think they understand Star Wars. It's not all about the fans. George Lucas doesn't like them. Martha Lucas doesn't like them. Mark Hamill doesn't like them. Harrison Ford just wanted out of them, let's be honest. However, Star Wars fans always think they know best. The main reason why some Star Wars fans don't really like Kathleen Kennedy is because they didn't like the sequel trilogy. Correct. When discussing the Star Wars sequel trilogy, I hear a lot of people say the same thing. How could they make these movies without a plan? Correct. Also, how could they mess up these beloved characters so badly and fundamentally misunderstand? How can they fundamentally misunderstand Luke Skywalker turn Leia into a pretty much nothing character, kill Han, take away all Han Solo's achievements and then kill him off, completely undermine Anakin's entire story arc of finally bringing balance to the Force, and then having identity theft at the end of Rise of the Skywalker. Stop normalizing identity theft, people. It's not okay. Yes, I agree with you. I do think it's utter madness that they started these new Star Wars films without setting up an overriding plot beforehand. It was a case of making it up as they went along, and it resulted in some rather confusing films. However, that may not be entirely down to Lucasfilm's president. Kennedy's in charge of these Star Wars films, yet she also has to report to Disney. Before Force Awakens came out, the franchise wasn't in a good place at all. Are you kidding me? Have you not watched the Clone Wars? It's a bit of a mistake to say Star Wars was dying under George Lucas, because George Lucas still owned Star Wars when the Clone Wars was coming out, and they were working with Dave Filoni on that, if I'm not wrong. Maybe Jon Favreau shouldn't be the new president. Maybe it should be Dave Filoni. I'm happy with either of them, personally. Dave Filoni's awesome. Jon Favreau's awesome. Also, if you're just saying, oh, you're just going for the white males, no, I'm going for the talented directors, and also, I'm not a white male. I am a male, but I'm not white. Just so you know that, you can't just call me, oh, you're just a stereotypical white male, like in white male things. And no, I hate Finn's character in The Last Jedi, and I think he was wasted. And I also think the idea of making a sequel trilogy is a bad idea, and this is one of the reasons why I don't totally love the expanded universe. I feel like the story should just end at Return of the Jedi, personally. Seems like a bad idea for it not to. But anyway, when they got J.J. Abrams to direct the first film, it was more of a sense of, let's see how this first one does and work it out from there. Yeah, except that J.J. Abrams is the Star Trek guy that is known for making basically the equivalent of bad cover band films. That copy the original film in enough to just pass it off as nostalgia sort of thing. We're just appreciating and luring them in, and there's fan service, and then there's outright copying. The Mandalorian sees this, and they actually give respect to Luke's character by showing him as an actual Jedi Master who is going around saving Force-sensitive children after the events of Return of the Jedi, which is what he should be, not an old man who gives up on his own apprentice. But you also have to remember that the Star Wars prequel trilogy almost killed the franchise. These films were panned by critics and didn't bring as much money as Lucasfilm would have liked. Lucas didn't do a great job with the prequels. Some of the things could have been better thought out. I wasn't alive at the time the prequels came out, but I guarantee you I would have loved them even then, because they're actually good. Jar Jar Binks is dumb, and he should have been a Sith Lord, except people pressured George Lucas out of his decision to make Jar Jar a Sith Lord. It wasn't due to George Lucas's success. I think it was due to George Lucas's nervousness because of the bad reception of Phantom Menace, which is not a perfect film, I admit, but it's good. It's far better than Force Awakens, or The Last Jedi, or Rise of the Skywalker, and it's not always about the money. Again, even Mark Hamill said it's not always about the money. Liam Neeson still likes the film. I still like the film. Phantom Menace isn't bad, but they should have gone with the twist of Jar Jar being a Sith Lord. And sure, you could have Christopher Lee as his voice actor, and then have him follow the same beats as Dooku did. But also, like, come on, it's it's dumb to make a character like Jar Jar and not have it have any payoff, but Lucas's insecurities were his biggest flaw. Also, even though I think that the bad dialogue, the wooden dialogue, is perfect for the film, due to Anakin being a Jedi who has never had social interaction and has to repress his emotions under the Jedi, and only basically knew his mum, I think that the wooden dialogue is perfect for him, as he never really knew anything about romance. The Jedi speak woodenly again because they've been taught to suppress their emotions and that sort of thing. Kenobi seems to not totally do that, because Qui-Gon Jinn taught him to not totally do that, because again he defied the council in suppression of emotion and that sort of thing. I think Kenobi didn't know he was that affected by Qui-Gon, but I think he was. Anyway, there's another character study. I'll do the character study later. On with the article. Again, a fair few... 2 of these have not been the greatest shows ever. Kenobi was passable, and Book of Boba Fett, again, was an all-over-the-place sort of thing. Lucasfilm was something of a sinking ship under George Lucas, and that's a fact many Star Wars fans do not want to admit. Have you seen the Clone Wars? You mind-numbing fool. It was amazing. Everyone knows it's amazing. The prequels are still good, however, the Clone Wars gives you that new evidence that makes the prequels even better, because the prequels didn't have long enough. It had long enough to convey convincing and amazing characters, such as Anakin Skywalker, Padme, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, but it didn't have enough time to explore that entire conflict and all the stuff with the clones. But the Clone Wars is great for doing that. The OT didn't have that problem, because yes, there's a large-scale war going on, but the clone troopers have much more personality than either of the sides. Even though they're clones, I don't think the Rebels have much personality to them, and I don't think the Stormtroopers have much personality to them, and I think the Clone Wars is a fantastic idea that harnesses the great prequels. Anyway, the Star Wars franchise is now in a much better place, except for the fact that the entire fandom hates an entire trilogy. You see, Jar Jar can't ruin Star Wars for me. Some bad dialogue can't ruin Star Wars for me. Undermining Anakin's entire story arc can ruin Star Wars for me. It's not in a much better place. The entire fandom is divided. Cool, I don't know who Patty Jenkins is, but I'm excited for Taika Waititi to make a thing, and he was in The Mandalorian, he was quite good, and Kevin Feige... Maybe the reason the Marvel's so bad is because he's working on his thing. But anyway, yeah, probably would have happened without Kathleen Kennedy at the helm. Because let's be honest, I think Jon Favreau... and also Dave Filoni would have had the ideas to do this. Short answer, no, it wouldn't have, except no, we'll never know, because... we failed to make Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni the president of Lucasfilm. They have done no wrong so far. However, clearly, Kathleen Kennedy has. What do you make of this news? No, he should be the president. Do you think Jon Favreau should be the next president of Lucasfilms? Yes, I do. Okay, so I'm going to clarify something. I don't think being a leftist is that bad, but there's a thing where you either go too conservative or too, like, woke and moral and that sort of thing. You need to find, like, a more of a balance, honestly. You can't be so far one side or the other. Sure, call me a little, I don't know, fence-sitter or whatever, but I don't care. But anyway, that's my video for today, debunking this dumb article. Sorry if it was 25 minutes long, I just had to get that out. Thank you all so much. This is probably going to be one of the only sort of videos I do like this, but please go check out any of my other videos, and say in the comments below if you would like me to make another sort of video like this, and have a great day. I'll see you all later. Bye!